Hi everybody, welcome to a Ruick how-to video on how to practice your aim. Here with Waterburger Tumor. Can you say hello for the camera?
Hi.
And he's gonna assist me in showing some techniques into how to improve your aim. I guess the first thing I should talk about is settings. It's very important to try and get optimal settings for the smoothness of your mouse and your gameplay. Personally, if we go to options here, I use basically all low settings. I even set it to 75% render scale. I can set it up to 100, but when I stream it takes up some more bit rate, so I tend to set it to low. It doesn't affect me that much, and it's really not too noticeable. You can set it to automatic or whatever you want. Whatever you need to do to get the maximum FPS out of your monitor to match your refresh rate so that it's as smooth as possible. I play at 1920 by 1080 at 120 hertz. Using light boost instead of using 144 hertz, which is my monitor is, because light boost is smoother. Other than that, just turn VSync off and triple buffering, all those kinds of things. They just take up FPS that don't really need to be used. So other than that, my mouse settings currently are 800 DPI on my mouse side, and for my controls, for most of my hit scan heroes that I use 5 sensitivity in game, but it's whatever you want to use for yourself, depending on your mouse pad size, how your mouse feels in your hand, and that kind of thing. Personally, for Genji, I use 7.71 just because I like the way it feels, being able to move around with him faster, turn in quick succession in certain places. So that's your sensitivity is all up to you, but the best way to calculate it is whatever your DPI is multiplied by your in-game sensitivity is what's called your true DPI. And I'll put some math up on the screen here. So for example, 800 DPI times 5 is, Josh, do 8 times 5 for me. 40. Thank you. 8 times 5 equals 40, so 0, 0. I have 400, 4,000 actual DPI. No, 400, wait. Fuck, math. I have 800 DPI times 5, which is 40. So I have 44,000 eDPI?
4,000.
Is that right?
4,000.
That's right. We don't math very much here on the Ruick Show. So the first technique, and this is coming from someone who used to play Counter-Strike a lot, is you want to make sure that you can track characters pretty well. So if Waterburger here is standing still and I'm trying to aim at his head, while I'm moving left and right, I should be able to smoothly keep my crosshair on his head as much as possible. Now, a lot of times you'll waver back and forth, or as soon as you change direction, you'll have to readjust instantly or something like that. But for the most part, you want to be able to keep that crosshair directly wherever their head is the whole time. And with characters like McCree, you'll notice that if you fire in quick succession, you're 100% accurate, even though your crosshair moves. So you'll see when I fire, my crosshair moves up 1 brick space, but I can fire as fast as possible and it still goes to the same spot. So it's a good thing to notice that even though your crosshair is moving, in the game of Overwatch, you really don't have much recoil. And so you can pretty much just keep aiming at the same spot and be pretty accurate. Now, you'll notice a lot of hit scan players do things like move off of the target over and over. That's really a bad habit that people should get over. You should be able to just fire like this over and over. So, Josh, can you jump around for me a bit? So I should be micro correcting myself as he's moving around like this. Once you get pretty good or you're in the midst of battle, you'll fire almost as fast as the gun goes off. Not only because you want to get those headshots, but you want to just get any damage possible instead of just waiting for damage. As you get better over time, feeling for your sensitivity, you should get a better handle on how it feels. Another really important thing is being able to kind of guess where your target's going to be. So if you're coming around here and they're peeking over and over at this corner, it's good to do things like keep your crosshair in one place and just strafe back and forth and fire over and over. So as you can see, my crosshair stays in the same place, and I know they're going to flood through this hole, but I'm trying to only shoot when I come out. I don't want to stay in here and shoot because I've become an easy target. But if I come in and out like this over time, it allows me to stay hidden when I'm not firing and come out when I am firing. So that's just strafe firing. So what you can do to practice your aim against kind of jumping around opponents is you can open a bot match and you can make all of the enemy team Ana and do headshots only, because Ana can't headshot damage. So you can kill Annas as they're running around trying to shoot you, and try and just do headshot only on them to try and improve your aim. But again, the most important thing is just to do whatever you're comfortable with. Some players are wrist players, so they only move around their wrists. Some players are elbow players, and they move around their elbow. And some players do a hybrid of both. I know personally, I do a hybrid of both. I move a lot with my elbow. This right here is the width of my elbow movement, and then if I go for my full elbow movement and then my wrist, that's my full wrist. And again, the other way, that's my full wrist movement. And so using a combination of those, I can do movements that are very smooth using my elbow, and then I can use my wrist to do micro corrections. And for the most part, that's pretty much the most you can learn from aiming. The most important part, though, is basically being able to quickly go somewhere and be unable to flick to a spot as accurately as possible. Now, no one's perfect, but if you can just walk around the map, in training or in bot mode, look somewhere and then try and flick to an object as fast as possible in the other direction. So as you can see, every time I do it, I kind of notice, did I go too far? Did I not go far enough? And so I try and do the same thing over and over until I get as accurate as possible. And that's pretty much the most you can learn from hit scan characters. Every character is a little bit different. Characters like Pharah, Hanzo, Genji, pretty much any character with projectiles, the most important part is learning the amount of time it takes for a projectile to get somewhere, solely based on the projectile speed, which is different for everybody. But once you learn that, the basics of it are pretty easy. Other hit scan characters like Soldier, you more likely have to control their recoil, as you're doing more following around with your crosshair than you are flicking. With a character like McCree, you're doing a lot of jumping around with your crosshair and firing once, whereas a Soldier, you have to kind of follow their movement and predict ahead of time where they're going, which is a little bit harder, and you also have to reset your recoil.